What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Monday night, April 3rd, 2023. It's about 9:45 p.m. here along the west coast in California. Latest quake shows a 4.6 into the Indonesia region. Starting to see a little bit of back-building earthquake activity here, following the 6.1 around the Sumatra area here of the Java Trench earlier this morning. All right, let's go ahead and check out some details here, see what's going on here in the earthquake world. Starting out here along the west coast. Make sure we got the most recent updated imagery out here from the USGS. This is all magnitudes here across the state. Well, looking at the map, not a whole lot here in the last hour, surprisingly. Last earthquake looks to be a couple earthquakes in the Clear Lake Volcanic field. This is the Calpine hydrothermal operations up here. About 37 earthquakes. This is very typical, very common due to the power generated there from their whole process. Look it up. It's kind of an interesting little deal. The Bay Area fairly quiet. A couple smaller quakes out here. Just off the, looks like the, what is that? Calaveras fault zone, extending down into the creeping segment here of the San Andreas fault. Further down south into the southern portion of the state, about the same. I got a little handful of earthquakes here at the southern end of one of these segments, the Coyote Mountain Fault, the Anza section of the San Jacinto Fault Zone. A couple different names in there, but apparently the USGS knows what they're talking about. Either way, a little bit of activity at the southern end of this branch here. Looks like about 9 earthquakes or so. See what we got for main magnitudes. Really haven't seen any main magnitude. Couple 1.9s. So kind of keep an eye on that. This was from earlier this morning, it looks like. Roughly around 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. Haven't really seen too much activity ramping up there so far today. So where's the brunt of the activity building up? I think right now still around the Indonesia area. The latest earthquake into the... is that Tobelo? Hopefully. 190 kilometers deep. Here we go with the deeper earthquakes again. I'm telling you, we've seen a lot of large-scale deep activity here recently in the past couple days. 4.6, 190 kilometers deep. Looks like that's into the southern end here of the Philippine Trench. I believe that's still the name here across the area. Either way, definitely some deeper movement quakes going on here. This earthquake over here around the Sumatra area was fairly deep as well, 84 kilometers into the northern end of the Java Trench for that 6.1. A couple other earthquakes here around the Java Trench area. Banda Sea region, looks like at least 2 of these from today. Fairly deep as well, 108 kilometers and 184 for a 5.0. So definitely seeing some deeper movement quakes taking place here recently within this area. So it looks like kind of that's where our main focus is going to be for now with this deeper activity. We got one earthquake here, 3.6 off the coast of Japan. Let me bring that back here. Fairly new. Coming in about an hour ago, 100 kilometers deep into the Japan Trench. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, quiet for now. Of course, we did have that that 6-pointer that kicked up here. That was even deep itself there. This earthquake right here, 6.5, northern end of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. 105 kilometers for that earthquake. Nothing throughout the day today, aside from that little one that's showing up in the last hour in the Japan region. Up into the Alaska area, a couple smaller quakes through the whole area. Not seeing anything specific. 3.1 in the last hour, 52 kilometers deep. Getting a little swarming here. Well, I can't really call that a swarm, right? Some shallower earthquake activity. A couple 3s and some 2s here. Just off the Aleutian area. Pretty shallow. Not any deeper activity going on there for now. Up around here in the Gulf of Alaska. Looks about the same as we've seen this morning. No major uptick. No major movement going on for now. Pacific Northwest. Looks almost identical to last night. A couple smaller earthquakes here. Let me check out the tremor map here tonight. Stand by. The tremor along the Cascadia still very minimal. Just outside of the... There's Coos Bay. This is going to be right underneath the Roseburg area, about 35, 45 kilometers deep. But tell you what, we still haven't seen any major uptick. I'm expecting that to happen. Either a large tremor event all of a sudden, or potentially somewhat of a larger deep earthquake here into the Cascadia. We'll watch this and see how it plays out. Northern California, we already checked that. Not a whole lot going on up there. Yellowstone National Park. Let's double check this and see what we have. Okay, it looks like this website's working today. Let's check out the borehole area. It doesn't look like there's too much movement going on. A couple smaller quakes from late last night. Not a whole lot through the day. Only a little handful of very, very small quakes throughout the evening. So not even really anything to chat about in that area. The rest of the state's fairly quiet. Across the Middle America Trench here, we got a little handful of earthquakes. A couple fives here from earlier this morning, I should say. I was going to say yesterday, but not quite. The fourth. Got see what we got here for the earthquake 3D globe. There's 5.4. A couple other 4s in this mix as well. It almost looks like there was two 5-pointers here. 5.0. Well, there is a 5.0 and a 5.3. EMSC, I guess, is reporting this as a 5.4. So a little bit of elevated movement here across the Middle America Trench for now. Puerto Rico area. Small handful of quakes across the mainland area. Nothing major going on, though. 3 earthquakes to report in that area tonight. Bolivia, 5.1 earlier this afternoon coming in. This one pretty deep here into the Peru-Chile Trench. 233 kilometers there into the subduction zone. Starting to see a little bit of a shallower earthquake activity upstream from that deeper movement, which is obviously expected. Let's see, what do we got going on here? Quite a bit of deep movement along the Kermadec Trench and Fiji area. Let's zoom over here real quick. Only got one earthquake showing up, though. Surprise, surprise. 4.8 from earlier this evening, 541 kilometers deep. So some of this other earthquake activity looks like a 4.3 and a 4.3 and a 3.5, right? Was there a 3 under there? No, 4.3 and 4.5. Either way, some deeper movement quakes going on there along the Kermadec Trench. So let's see what we got for GeoNet, the New Zealand monitoring data system here. There's that 4.5 Kermadec Trench area, 368 kilometers, about 2 hours ago. And there was another one, right? Yep, 4.3, roughly in the same location, a little bit further south, 261 kilometers deep. Let's see what we have here across the drums. Probably going to see those 4-pointers show up. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe too far up north and just too deep for that signature to show up on any of these seismographs. Doesn't look like it. Not really seeing any surface earthquake activity. A little minor amount across the region. Let's see. We got one earthquake down here into the South Island area. Nothing big. It's just barely showing up across the area. Looks fairly quiet, though, for the most part. Check out the volcanic drums here in the area and see if we're missing anything. For the most part, roughly about the same as the earthquake drums. Alrighty. So either way, with that deeper movement here, we'll take note of possibly some further earthquake activity upstream. Alright, big island of Hawaii. Man, goodness. Only 7 earthquakes here on the map. That's pretty, that's fairly minimal, guys. A couple 2s out here around the Pahala area. Nothing major going on. Almost looks like we're at a standstill currently. Trying to decide exactly where this momentum is going to go. I think, if anything, with this deeper activity around the region, and the back building here of earthquake activity following that 6.1 in the Sumatra area, I think we're either going to see a little bit bigger earthquake up here around this region, or continued swarming of earthquake activity like we've seen over the past couple weeks in this region here. And there's always a likelihood, though, of seeing a larger movement quake within this region of the Solomon Islands and the Vanuatu area. This area could be primed here for some larger scale movement. All right, let's see. Am I missing anything out here? One earthquake off into the Arabian Sea, the Owen Fracture Zone. Seeing a swarm of fives. Excuse me. All these coming in, looks like earlier this afternoon, within about an hour or so of each other. Let's kind of keep an eye on that. A couple different fracture zones out there. Let's see here. Turkey area, some 4s and 3s and 2s and some 1s as well in the mix there of earthquakes. Nothing major going on across the Mediterranean. The Atlantic Ocean calm and clear for now. Alrighty, just kind of keep an eye on things, see how it plays out here tonight, folks. Let's see what we got for the Earthquakes Canada up north here of the States. See if anything's been popping up here across the Cascadia. That's going to be the northern end. Looks like there was some movement out here. I think we noted that a couple nights ago, but it looks as though there's a swarm of earthquake activity out there in the into the Explorer plate here, just shy of the Cascadia subduction zone. The latest quake is going to be in the purple circle, 3.7 from the UTC time would put that late last night, west of Port Alice, BC region. But there's a handful of quakes in here, quite a bit of movement, and you really don't hear too much about that on the Earthquake 3D globe from EMSC or the USGS, but it's obviously up here, right about in this region up here, just shy of the Cascadia, the northern end. Aside from that, the rest of Canada here looks fairly minimal. Nothing new popping off except for the movement there off the coast into the Cascadia region. All right, let's check out space weather activity. Once again, entering into the data blackout here every 24 hours or so. The data gets blocked out. Let's see, what do we got for X? Well, we don't have any X flares yet, but got a couple C flares popping off over the last couple hours, and I'm pretty certain I know where that's coming from. Going to be this regional sunspot here, 3270, which is looking quite nice, growing quite nicely, and looking fairly dynamic. This thing just kind of popped up out of the blue here a couple days ago. It is Earth facing, but not for long. Going to slowly rotate here off the southwestern limb of the sun, and we'll see if we can't get it to pop off maybe an M flare or two. Hard to say at the moment, but we'll continue to keep an eye on that. This regional sunspot on the southeastern limb does not look impressive whatsoever. I'm not impressed with that. So we don't have a lot to look at, unfortunately. Maybe a newer sunspot here, way on the northeastern limb of the sun, but we'll kind of keep an eye on these. Got hiccups all of a sudden. Not good. So 3270 looks as though it's complex enough there. It's got a beta gamma delta class with the highest flare threat so far amongst all the sunspots. 55% chance of a C flare, M flare at 10, and actually a 5% chance for an X flare. And that is due to the dynamic structure of the magnetic fields within this sunspot region. There's a lot of intermixing here, making it a fairly complex structure, and the most likely sunspot there on the disk to produce any type of flaring. There it is once again, 65% chance C flare, M flare at 15, and X flare 5%. Those are elevated due to that one solo sunspot. Nothing major going on across the auroras here for the aurora forecast. Things looking fairly minimal, only a 50% chance or so of any higher latitude storming conditions. That's about it, folks. Big weather day coming up tomorrow here into the Areas of the Midwest is very similar to what we've seen here last week. Very almost identical. And looking at the tornado potential here, it's getting elevated up around 15% chance or so for some highly populated regions once again. That includes areas of Little Rock, Arkansas, that did get hit by a tornado our last go around. That's up in the mix as well again. This time, St. Louis, Missouri, Springfield, even into portions up here. There's two separate portions again, similar to last time. Mostly up around the Cedar Rapids, Iowa area, Davenport. Two specific areas here that we need to watch for some severe weather coming up tomorrow. It looks as though it's going to start off probably Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning, according to the summary here, which is not a good thing because that's going to be a high risk of nighttime tornadoes. So get some sleep tonight, folks, if you can. Tomorrow may not be the case. I know I wouldn't be sleeping if I were in any of these areas out here. Not scaring anybody, but just it's always good to be on guard, be prepared. I know some folks have to work in the morning, but at the same time, kind of have to pay attention to what's going on here with the weather in your area. That's why it's always good to have a weather radio. They're not too expensive. They got them there on Amazon and whatnot, but if you don't have one, definitely get one. Looking pretty likely that we're going to see a tornado set up here tomorrow. Wind event as well. Looks like a good swath of 30%. Possibly seen 50 knots or higher within 25 miles of a point. Hail as well. 2-inch diameter hail or larger within 25 miles of a point. That would be the hatched area, which is in the speckled, I guess, this little dotted area, which again includes some highly populated regions. Looks like about close to 9 million people in that area. So be on guard tomorrow, folks. Kind of a big deal. I'm kind of curious to see what this may look like here tomorrow as we check out a couple weather models. We're going to go to the we're going to use the eastern U.S. here. See if the NAM 3KM model is up and running. This will give us a good indicator of where these storms may form. It's definitely a low pressure system here, the culprit in bringing in this severe weather once again. And it looks as though the low is going to be parked mainly up north of Iowa area. There's that line of severe weather potential as it comes in late afternoon time frame and tomorrow evening. It may not look like much, but any of these supercells here are very capable of producing a tornado. Definitely want to be on guard for tomorrow's setup. All right, let's see what else we have here, folks. West Coast, we're supposed to be getting some 80s coming up this weekend and early next week, but it looks as though things have changed. Let me go back here to the weather models, check out the region of the western United States here, and we're going to put this kind of into motion here. We do have a storm system coming up Wednesday and Thursday into Friday as well. Weren't really expecting this rain, just kind of evolved, and the weather models are a little bit more in agreement with some weather conditions out here for Northern California, extending up into Oregon as well. After that, here's the weekend. Now, early next week, it looks like our 80s got squashed. Going to replace that with some rain, which I'm not going to complain about. So we'll have our 80s and 90s here really soon. So it looks as though that storm door could potentially remain open here across the West Coast. Look at that into the second week, middle of April here. Nice low pressure system bringing in a bunch of rainfall again here for the West Coast. It's been one for the record books, folks. We'll definitely have to keep note of all this. I'll definitely remember it. That's for sure. So 80s and 90s, we'll have to wait. We got some more rain coming in, And that's just how it is. We got to deal with it. And I have no problem with it. Let's see, what else is there, folks? I think that's about it. Anything major going on across volcano world? There's obviously volcanoes erupting across the globe that are typical. If we did that every day, it'd kind of be a repetitive type thing. Far as any newer earthquake activity goes, it doesn't look like it through the HVO, which is the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. And the Alaska folks up here, daily updates as normal. Not really seeing any changes here across the area, and the Cascades are all clear. No major volcanic activity there. Yellowstone, I forgot. Yellowstone did put this out a couple days ago, so we'll go ahead and read this real quick. This was put out April 1st by the U.S. Geological Survey. Recent work and news. Looks like no eruptions from the Steamboat Geyser were detected during the month of March. Let's see, seismicity during March 2023. Looks like there was a total of 354 earthquakes in the Yellowstone National Park region. The largest of the month was a minor earthquake of magnitude 3.7, located about 3 miles southeast of Lake Yellowstone. That's a recent swarm. This event was part of a swarm of 106 earthquakes that occurred in the area starting March 29th. I think there was more. I think there was a lot more than the 106. They're not counting all of them. I mean, I'm not going to go back and check, but I think there was at least 100 or so on one day, and we had this swarm for a couple days. All right, March seismicity in Yellowstone was marked by 2 swarms. Let's see here. I want to see their statement. Earthquake sequences like these are common and account for roughly 50% of the total seismicity in the Yellowstone region. We get that. Yellowstone earthquake activity is currently at elevated levels compared with typical background activity. Interesting. Continuous GPS stations in the Yellowstone caldera continue to record gradual subsidence at a rate of several centimeters per year. Be nice if we could access that. I can't find any. Well, can find a couple GPS stations, but not the ones I'm wanting to look at. So this subsidence has been occurring since about 2015. An example of GPS data can be found at, I don't want an example. Well, let's open it up and see here. Click on static plots cleaned. Let's see here. Static plots clean. This is a little bit different here. Process clean. Static plots clean. Let's see what it looks like. Now this one's pretty recent. I'm gonna have to bookmark this one here. A couple of the other. Now this is for Yellowstone, right? In RWY. We'll have to look at that on the map and see where that's at. But either way, here is the latest GPS measurement. Now this is height. Notice this. This is height here in mm. Gradual subsidence since 2015. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe certain areas. But it looks like there was a vertical uplift here since about 2015, 2016. This is height. Negative would be lower. Uptrend here, right? That'd be vertical displacement. Looks as though, yeah, it kind of looks like we had a pretty good uptick here in this station. Again, let's see, what am I doing here? Doing a couple different things with the mouse. All right. Either way, it doesn't look like there's any major swelling going on, but I would say a definite little uptick there in the region. Overview. This is going to be specifically at, let me see here. Oops. Oh, now this is kind of cool. Okay. I'm going to bookmark this one. That's going to be northwest of the Lake Yellowstone area. Let's see if this one works. This is the one I kind of want to check out. Cleaned. There we go. I like this one. This has Lake Yellowstone on there as well. Not for sure how I skipped over this, but maybe the other link I was using was outdated because I couldn't find any recent GPS stations here, but this looks pretty darn recent, I would say. So this here, Lake Yellowstone, shows a gradual decline here. Of course, this station is a little distant from the previous station that we looked at. Remember 2008, that's when we had a pretty good swarm. A lot of fear-mongering going on YouTube back then. I remember that. I was like, goodness, I could not believe what people were saying. But obviously we're still here. No major explosion or eruption of Yellowstone. Now if we see this thing go way off the chart with some 5s and 6s in the magnitudes for earthquakes, and the springs, geysers acting all up, then yeah, I would say, whoa, what's going on here? But right now I think we're okay. And this does go fairly far into 2023. I like that. So these are definitely going into my bookmark. All right, folks. Goodness. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening. I'm going to bounce out of here. Just kind of feel like there's something bigger coming. All the graphs look fairly calm and clear for now. Not really seeing any major uptick or any swarms anywhere. So we'll just see what Mother Nature wants to do throughout the evening, and we'll report back on it in the morning. Have a good one, and stay safe out there. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow sometime. Take care.